It is now 7:21 p.m. The meeting is called to order. Let's proceed with roll call.
Mayor Joseph,
Present.
Councilman Galvin. Here. Vice Mayor Keys,
Here.
Councilman Bieneme. Here. Councilman Designate. Here. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. We are going to be led by Detective Michael Tovar.
Please rise, face the flag, place your right hand over your heart, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will proceed with invocation by our dear councilman from District 2. Or is it District 1 or 2? Scott Galvin.
If you would please rise for the invocation and bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us all here together safely this evening. Please give the City Council the wisdom to make decisions that are in the best interest of our city. And we're so thankful that you were able to bring so many of the residents here tonight to be part of this meeting. Allow us to make the best decisions that we can in your name. We pray to you, our Heavenly Father. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Manager, now we need to hear whether you have any additions, deletions, amendments to the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Under number 8 on the consent agenda, I'd like to add tab H-1, a proposed resolution from the Mayor and Council, City Council, authorizing a grant application in the amount of $37,000, actually it's $38,000. Under deletions, I would like to pull tab F as in Frank and tab G as in good.
You want to put what? What tab you want to put?
I'd like to delete tab F as in Frank and tab G. There's additional information that council members requested, so I'll be putting that on the on the next agenda.
So we're gonna have tab H and H1.
Tab H and tab H1, that's
H1
correct.
is being,
Will H1 be part of the consent agenda, or is H1 standalone?
It would be part of the consent agenda. It's just a grant application.
all right. I believe we do have two special presentations. First one by our budget director.
Good evening, Arthur Sorey, Budget Director. As outlined from previous audits, it's recommended that the Budget Office do presentations each quarter to update the council on the general fund revenues and do that. So the highlights, we're going to discuss the general fund revenues and the general fund expenditures. We have also our enterprise funds. However, those are cost services, so we don't present those. Those were not part of the recommendations, but we will present the general fund. This is our revenue summary for the general fund. Total revenues for the general fund, $67.1 million. We have various categories broken down here. I will be going into detail of each category. Taxes, 69% received thus far, and this is the second quarter, basically the 6-year mark of the revenues. Taxes, $16.9 million in thus far. License permits, $1.2 million. Intergovernmental revenue, we're at 53%. Charges for services, $1.4 million. are 37%. Fines and forfeits, exactly 50%. Miscellaneous revenues, 93%. And non-revenues, 12%. Taxes. Right now, the Avalon taxes, so far, we're at 87% received, which is normal because taxes, everyone pays their taxes at the beginning of the year to take advantage of the update, so we're right on target. General sales and use tax, we're at 36%. This is actually above where we should be because we don't start getting the money in until the second quarter. So we're at 36% right now. And that's our local option gas tax, that's that fund. Franchise fees, FP&L, City Gas, People's Gas, waste collection, and bus benches, we're at 30%. Again, that's another one that revenues don't come in until the second quarter beginning. Utility service taxes, FP&L, natural gas, fuel and oil, Sun Gas, Farrell Gas, we're currently at 46%. Communication service tax, we're currently at 29%. Again, those don't start until the second quarter, and that is telecommunications, video, direct-to-home satellite, and related services. So total for taxes, we're at approximately 69% at this point. Licenses and permits, occupational licenses, we're at 95%. That's typical because everyone pays their occupational taxes at the beginning of the fiscal year. Building permits, we're at 55%. Other licenses, fees, and permits, that's the MediaNet billboards, we're at 53%. So licenses and permits, we're at 63% collected so far for revenues. Intergovernmental revenues, again, through our audit, we were requested to move grants out of the general fund, so that's why those are empty. They've been moved into their own fund, a 199 fund, and theirs will be recognized later on in the budget amendment. We have the state shared revenues, budget amount $6.2 million. To date, we have about 3.3 in. That's the half-cent sales tax and state revenue sharing. We have shared revenues from local units. That's the occupational licenses for Dade County, and we're at 27%. This is normal at this time of the year. So total for intergovernmental revenue, we're at about 53% collected of what we anticipated. Charges for services, these are passports, hardest hit program fees, zoning compliance review fees, minimum housing review fees. Right now we're at 52%. Public safety, we're at 39%. Burglar alarms, that's Sans Souci Guard Gate, and miscellaneous police revenues. Again, it's 39%. Physical environment, that's where the sanitation fees are collected, and lot clearing fees. We're at 30%, and that's just posting. The funds revenues will be posted, but we're definitely on target. We'll be with that. Again, those are charges for services, so we don't anticipate any problems. Culture and recreation, that's our revenues from recreation, swimming pools, tennis, summer camps, facility rentals, stadium rentals. We're at 52%. Total charges for services, we're at 37%. Again, no foreseen issues here as the physical environment, those are the charges for services for sanitation. And once everything is posted, we'll be fine. Fines and forfeits. Code liens, we're about 69% of our projected revenue. Local violations of local ordinance, this is code fines. Again, we've noticed this trend going up since the code compliance has been moved under the police department. So the number keeps rising. So right now we're doing really well for code fines. Other fines and forfeits, we're at 43%. Total for fines and forfeits, 50%. Miscellaneous revenues, that's our interest and other earnings, is the money we have in the bank receiving interest on it. Rents and royalties, that's for the 240 units. at 151 Biscayne, the bifurcated land lease, and the $1.5 million land lease. Contributions and donations, 319%. This is from the $500,000 check we did receive from, I believe, the Biscayne Landing site or Solomia site, the $500,000 that the manager received. Miscellaneous revenues, that's the revenues from the take-home vehicle program, and other miscellaneous revenues, 83%. We have the non-revenues, interfund transfer, that's just a transfer from the, the enterprise, well, we have the contributions from enterprise funds, which is the 50%, that's the money that will come from water and sewer and stormwater over to the general fund. The non-operating sources, that's just the funds we have in reserve. That number will stay at 0. It transfers out $79,000. That's the general fund money that we said that we were going to supplement the cost of the CDBG cost, which was short about $79,000. So we'll be transferring $79,000 from the general fund there. This slide is a brief comparison between the 2 fiscal years. And as you can see, we're right on target, the same place we were last year, actually 1% higher at 44%. So that's the revenues. Now we'll move over to the expenditure side. This expenditures by department. Current total, we're about 51%. And our expenses, right on target. Some of the numbers are slightly higher than the 50%, and that's just because you encumber all funds at the beginning of the fiscal year. So some are slightly higher than 50%. One that you would take note of would be MOCA, which is 79%. And again, these numbers are just for the first 2 quarters of the fiscal year, not through 3 quarters, because we're almost at the completion of 3 quarters. This is for the first 2 quarters, and MOCA's at 79%. Later on, we'll have a presentation that goes more in depth with the MOCA expenses. But everything else is exactly on target. $67.1 million again. Revenues do equal expenditures, so it is the same number there. And that's the presentation. Little shameless self-promotion. We recently received our budget award on May 4th, second consecutive Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the GFOA. So we're putting together an excellent document.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our second presentation is about a CAFA report by CPA, Mr. Harvey Covington.
Yes.
Good day, Mayor, council members, city manager, city attorney, city clerk, Roderick Harvey, engagement partner for the city with HCT. We will be discussing the audit for the period ending September 30, 2014. Also with me is Mike Vetter, the audit manager, and also RJ Harvey. From finance, we have Mr. Carl LaFleur and Margaret Steele Miller. Want to give an overview of what we will discuss during this time. We'll go over the audit opinion as we expect it to be. We haven't finished all of our procedures. We'll do a financial summary, a comparison, where were we at the end of 13 as compared to 14, and then we'll discuss those management letter comments, things that we think are important enough to be written as findings. Based on our procedures thus far, we will be issuing an unqualified opinion, which means that during our procedures, as a result of our procedures, all of the statements are fairly presented in accordance with GAAP or generally accepted accounting principles. So let's delve into some numbers here. We will look at the general fund, which has a fund balance. Again, remember we're talking as of September 30, 2014. Fund balance for the general fund, $16.7 million. The governmental funds, total fund balance, $35.5. And looking at the proprietary funds, that net position is $68.8 million. Want to continue to move forward and look at the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, what I call the sexy statement. How much money did you get in and how did you expend it? So when we look at the general fund, you can see that we had revenues of 49.6, expenditures of 45.3, internal service funds and debt service payments of 6.3, which leaves us with an increase in general fund balance of a little over $2 million. When we look at all the funds for the whole organization, total revenues 56.8, expenditures or expenses 56, a little over 56 million, payments out 6.3, and we have a positive change in fund balance of 3.8 million. Talking proprietary funds, your proprietary funds are your water and sewer and your stormwater fund. Total revenue under proprietary funds 32.8, expenses 25.7, internal payments, debt service payments 1.2, which leaves us with a positive change in position of almost 6 million, $5.9 million. So now a quick comparison as relates to 9/30/13, 9/30/14. So let's look at fund balance. At 13 we were at 39.3, and now as of 14, 35.5. Revenue comparison, how did the money come in 13, 55.5, as compared to the same period in 14, 56.8. So that number is very consistent. Expenditures, when we look at 13, we expended to the tune of 62.2. How did we expend in 14? 62.4. Very consistent. When you look at proprietary funds, in 13, our net position 62.9 as compared to 14, 68.8. And now looking at operating income or loss for 13, 6.9 million, and also, or for 14, 5.9 million. So now we are required as your auditors to report on prior year findings. If we give a finding in previous year, we have to go back and look at the status of that. And so we're going to report to you some of these findings. So finding one from last year, certain accounts receivable and current liability schedules were not made available in a timely manner. Additionally, those schedules which were submitted subsequently required change. Another finding, during our audit, we inquire of finance personnel regarding the presentation of financial statements to the City Council during the regular council meetings and noted no presentations were being performed. Obviously, we just saw a presentation for this year. And then for finding 3, expenditures are not being filed on the accrual basis of accounting, which is mandated under OMB Circular A133. This creates a problem with matching expenditures between the quarterly grant reports, detailed ledgers, and the CFA schedule. And then the last finding for 2013, which is finding 4, the procedure whereby the city pays most of the project costs for the CRA and provides an invoice and the related adjustments to be made in the CRA ledger presents a control weakness. This was discussed in the previous year, referring to 12, and did not result in a finding. This year, referring to 13, there was a discrepancy that was not resolved until 14. We are still continuing to work through our assessments of these findings and will report on those findings as either implemented, partly implemented, or not implemented in our final audit report. Our current year findings, as we have them now, I will run through these findings and also note to you, in accordance with the Auditor General, if it is a repeat finding, the Auditor General requires, if a finding is for 2 years or more, that you must note it as a repeat finding. So when we look at 2014-01, it is a repeat finding, and you can see the years. Reconciliations were completed incorrectly and did not agree to the trial balance. The next finding, finding 2, condition, the software application in use by the city to develop financial records and ledgers have a variety of recording, postings, and reporting options available. However, the intense training for these applications have not been conducted with the staff, and the posting procedures are not completely understood to develop accurate reconciliations and adjustments as would be required to prepare GAAP basis financial statements. Moving on to our finding 3, AJEs, adjusting entries. After receiving the trial balance and starting fieldwork testing, material adjustments were made during the audit. Finding 4, which relates to grant reimbursement, the same expenditure was requested for reimbursement from HUD on 2 known occasions. After it was discovered, it was not reported to HUD. Moving on to 5 and 6. Again, grant reporting. Expenditures are, and this is a repeat comment, expenditures are not being filed on the accrual basis of accounting as required under OMB Circular A133. This creates problems matching expenditures between the quarterly grant reports and detailed ledgers and the CFA schedule. Finding 6, subrecipient monitoring. Subrecipient monitoring under the HUD CDBG grant is not being completed as required. Mayor, I have concluded my report, and if you so choose, we'll entertain any questions. We will do our best to answer those questions now, and if not, we will definitely respond at a later time to the questioner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Covington. We have any questions from the dais or comment for Mr. Covington?
It's difficult to sit here and look at a screen that we can barely see, so I would like to reserve comments till we're given a complete report. I do see some troubling comments in your recommendations, repeated violations. So I'm looking forward to seeing when do we expect the actual report?
We are working diligently with staff to complete that CAFR book. I am hopeful by, what is today? By later this week, hopefully we will have a completed CAFR book, a draft book that we can present and put forward to the manager and to council.
Are many of these items, recommendations, are these items that could be corrected before the end of this year?
The time period has already sunset because the reporting period ended September 30, 14.
I mean, 14's done, but for
You mean-
14, 15, if we get in time, hopefully we can make all the corrections and make sure that this coming end of year report is a lot better.
That's correct. Yes, I'm sorry I misunderstood your question. Yes, we would hope that we will be able to correct that so it's not a repeat finding at the end of 15.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
Mr. Mayor, from
Go ahead.
Thank you. The date, by state law, the date that the CAFR is supposed to be provided to the council is July the 1st?
Can I just correct a little? To answer your question directly, no. But to amend to your question, the state requires that the audit report for any municipality is reported 270 days after year end, or in layman's term, June 30 of the subsequent year.
I'm sorry, I was off by 24 hours.
Yeah, I feel like Alex Trebek or whatever his
Right.
name is.
Didn't state the answer in the form of a question.
There you go.
Sorry. So today's June the 23rd. It's due a week from today.
Yes, sir.
We've had a history in the last 3 or 4 years of not providing the CAFR by the required date. Do you and to staff, do you feel confident that we're going to get the CAFR by a week from tonight?
The manager has given us a mandate, and we are working hard to make that mandate happen. We have provided over 5 staff each day on site to get it done. I am very comfortable that we should be able to get it done. I'm expecting to get, as the partner, expecting to get the draft CAFR from finance staff later today, tomorrow. I will do my partner review, and we'll get it done. I have informed my staff that if need be, we will be working Saturdays. We did work last Saturday. So I think city staff is poised to do the same. I know they are. And so we should be in good shape.
I know that in your report you just talked to us about, you pointed out a repeat finding of accounts receivable not being reported in a timely manner. I've seen that going back to, I think, 2011 or 2012. It's been many years. But this last year or so, we brought in a team of people under the leadership of Margaret Miller to try to pull all of our accounts receivable in and out together so that it was organized. Do you, in your what you're telling us tonight, the 2013 findings that accounts receivable have not been provided in a timely manner for this year, did you feel that they had been, or can you explain?
I can explain. For the prior comments, besides the one I just saw, which is finding 2, I have not, as a partner, concluded on the status of these findings. So once I get to CAFRA, I will meet with my staff and potentially the finance director to discuss in detail the status of these findings. Having observed finding 2 tonight with the presentation of the financials to the city council, I can say that that one is implemented. But the other ones we will discuss and be in our final book that we look forward to presenting straightway.
And my last question, if
Yes,
I might,
sir.
Mr. Mayor. You mentioned 2014 section 04 that there was a HUD finding that was asked for twice and then not provided. Can you explain what that means, what that's all about, please?
I will. It appears that we, I'm going to say we, city, requested 2 payments from HUD at 2 different times, and they paid them. And we have not, as of this date, the city, have notified HUD and requested, I guess, to reimburse them or to do something. So 2 expenditures were paid. The first one was obviously valid. The second one got posted and paid incorrectly.
Mr. Manager, Mr. Sori, can you explain further? That's confusing to me.
Typically, those grants that run, the HUD grants and CDBG, any of the housing grants that we do have, we expend the money first and then we submit for reimbursement. From my understanding of the situation, and we haven't gone into detail with it yet, but from my understanding is we did submit the reimbursable documents basically twice.
To HUD?
That's to HUD, yes, sir.
And then HUD hasn't paid us?
Well, HUD has paid us twice instead of once.
And we have
So
not.
we need
So-
we need to send the check back to
We
HUD.
essentially accidentally double billed HUD.
Yes, sir.
And do we know for what service?
That information I don't have right now, sir.
Okay, I'd like to know what we
We'll
double billed
get you the
federal
information.
government for. So,
Yes, sir.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I've got for now.
No problem. Only one question I do have.
Yes, sir.
I understand that we kind of under the gun as far as meeting the deadline for this report, and we know ahead of time that the time would be coming. What is it? What are the factors that actually constitute this type of? I
Great,
mean,
great question, Mayor. There's a couple key factors. Relates to where the city is, as relates to change in the finance department. Just to speak very directly, it also relates to the new person getting up to speed and getting on track, so that they can feel comfortable that they're going to be signing off that management rep letter as the person for that year. And then thirdly, just getting the final trial balance in a auditable fashion. One of our comments was that even after getting the final trial balance, we still had to make changes. So we have continued to work together with finance. They have continued to work together with us, but just making sure that once we do hit the road, we can literally hit the road. I think that with the team that's in place now and time, next year would be a lot more successful with being able to get in at an earlier time and being able to get in and get those results to you and the council faster. So in ending, I don't want to be too long-winded like a good Baptist preacher. I believe that this year is just an anomaly. It's just a blip. So if you can, I would like to just bleep your memory and say, let's just get past this one.
correct.
You like that one, huh?
I will amuse you with that.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comment from other members? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Eh, Mr. Manager, do we have any updates on projects?
Yes, I'd like to call Whistler Pierre Louis, Public Works Director.
You've already used 45 seconds.
I'm sorry, I'm waiting for IT to queue.
F5.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Whistler Pierre Louis, Public Works Director, here to provide you with city projects updates. We have on this slide a rendering of the library renovations. This will be discussed further in the council meeting. It's actually item J, and we will present you with more information as far as the progress being made at the library. But this slide that you're looking at right now is a rendering, and the next slide is an actual picture of how it looks today. We hope that we can continue to move forward so that we can have a library for the citizens of North Miami to enjoy. This is a Progress 2013 project, and it is moving forward, provided that we move forward tonight. The next is an update on the water plant project. We have well rehabilitations that are currently in progress. Of 8 wells, we have completed 3 wells, and we will continue to move forward, provided that we find a contractor to move forward with for the next 5 wells. We have traffic calming. We have traffic improvements being made to 4 traffic circles in District 3. These were originally CRA projects. We have moved on to the next phase. This is how it looked after the initial project. Next slide, please. It is. Okay. This is how it looked after the initial CRA project. As you can see, there was no uplighting, no landscaping. The landscaping was very minimal. And this is a picture of the same location, how it looks today. It is still in progress. However, you can see that we've added a more substantial tree. The landscaping is not complete. However, there are decorative stones, there is uplighting, and there will also be irrigation installed at these 4 traffic circles, which are all located in the District 3, which is a carry-on from the previous CRA project. We have sidewalk improvement projects. The one in District 3 has recently been completed. The one in District 2 is in progress, and we have slated a citywide sidewalk improvement project, which would be going out hopefully in the next month for advertisement. This is a picture from District 3 of how the sidewalk looked before. As you can see, it's a trip hazard, which is not acceptable. And this is a picture of the after the fact, where you see newly installed and repaired sidewalk. The swell area was also improved, and it just shows improvement to the entire neighborhood aesthetically and safety, and providing a path for the citizens to get from point A to point B. We have started or completed a few right-of-way improvement projects, And we also have a few that are slated to continue in the next few months. With these right-of-way projects, we have been regrading the swells, installing driveway approaches, and making repairs to any sidewalks as need be. The next project is the Sans Souci alleyway fence. This is a picture of how it looked before. There was a wooden fence which was deteriorating, and today we are approximately 80. We're approximately 80% complete. This is a Trex system, and as you can see, it is a improvement aesthetic. Also, it's a barrier from the commercial properties which are directly to the north of these townhomes in the Sans Souci area. Right across the street from City Hall, we are improving Northeast 124th Street. This is also a CRA project, and this was a picture taking before the start of the installation of the drainage project by the Public Works Department. If you look closely in the picture, you'll see ponding, and we installed this drainage system in order to address the drainage problems on the street. We installed approximately 500 linear feet of 18-inch perforated pipe, and we installed 6 drainage structures, 4 on the north side and 2 on the south side of the road. This is the completion of the drainage portion of the project with the installation of the drainage complete. The next screen that you're looking at is the actual conceptual drawing. Overall, this project is tied into the downtown redevelopment. The project, I believe it's the Nike shop, if I'm not mistaken. There was inadequate parking lot, so the city worked in partnership with the developer, and we're proposing to install 20 parking spaces on the north side of 124th Street, widen the road, add landscaping, resurface, and also add lighting. We've also tied it into downtown by having installing stamped asphalt at the intersections, and there'll be a section where the wall will be open so that the customers and residents will have access from 124th Street to the shopping center. And lastly, we have a few upcoming projects. We have traffic circles which will be installed throughout the city. We have Sans Souci walls which will replace the gates in the Sans Souci area. And we also have the citywide sidewalk project which I mentioned before. That concludes my presentation. If there are any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Did you mention 124th Street? I think I missed it.
Yes, I did. I mentioned 124th Street.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are there additional projects that are not on this presentation that ongoing projects we talked about?
Yes, there are additional projects. I'll be meeting with you for some of the projects that we talked about.
Okay.
The District 3, actually District 4 home improvement, that was pulled, and I have to meet with you on that. There's some traffic circles
Okay.
we have to talk about, sit down and talk about. There's also some improvements that District 3 as well has spoken to the budget and I to do some driveway improvements, and the mayor and all already spoke to me on some other projects on streetscape and street improvements, which we did last Tuesday night, I believe. We went and looked at those projects.
Thank you.
So there are projects that would be reported on as the meetings go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hurricane preparedness,
We'll have it at the next meeting.
next meeting.
Yes.
Now we need a motion to approve consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion was made by Councilman Galvin, seconded by Councilman Desmay, and that is to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda is approved with a 5-0 vote. Tab I, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving a funding allocation of $1,214,426 to the North Miami Museum of Contemporary Art, MoCA, as well as an interest-free loan from the city of North Miami to the Museum of Contemporary Art, Inc., in the amount of $650,000, with that amount to be reimbursed to the city within 4 years from the loan date, and further authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to effectuate the funding allocations, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Arthur Sorey, Budget Director. We're going to have a brief presentation regarding MoCA and really mainly financial and how we're going to move forward. So we'll talk about the background and some of the issues with MoCA, sustaining MoCA, then propelling MoCA Inc., which is the nonprofit side of the MoCA. We'll talk about the MoCA budget and the MoCA financial forecast moving forward. Historically, MoCA had a $4 million budget. $1 million was city funded, $3 million was funded by the previous MoCA board. Then we know we had the secession of the MoCA board. There were some immediate financial impacts, and then we are going to discuss some of the long-term financial impacts as we move forward. As stated, the original budget was $1 million for MoCA. This is from the city side. The immediate financial impact of the board leaving on August of 2014, or actually April of 2014, left a financial hit on MoCA. So this board did approve a $500,000 loan in 2014. This loan was to get us through Art Basel and a couple other exhibitions, and to let a new board get set in place and for us to come back to the table and address some of the things and how we're going to move forward with MoCA. So we did the $500,000 loan, knowing that that was just a brief stopgap. Expenses to date, it's about $1.6 million that we spent for MoCA. So of the 1.5, we're actually at 1.6, a little over $100,000 over budget. Our estimates, again, it's a conservative estimate that MoCA by year end is going to spend approximately $2.7 million. That $2.7 million leaves us with a $1.2 million gap that we need to fill and make a policy decision to fill that gap. Funding sources available. Right now in non-departmental, and this is just me advising the board of what funds are available to move forward and go ahead and continue our museum operating in the manner that we've become accustomed to. We have $858,000 left in staff benefits. That was part of the Progress 2013 money that was allocated for staff benefits. Contingency, we have about $604,000. There's $1 million that's left that's budgeted for the Powell building. And we have the $5 million, of course, that's budgeted for fund reserve. And it takes a supermajority for you guys to touch that money. So total funding available right now that's actually sitting there is about $7.4 million. Now we talk about funding sought. As I spoke about the budget, there's going to be a $1.2 million void that needs to be filled. And then we have a request for MoCA Inc., which is the nonprofit side of MoCA, an amount of $650,000. Now this $650,000 is basically to come up with a footprint or foundation for MoCA from a staffing level and also from a building level. Right now, they don't have the ability, the pieces aren't in place for MoCA to go out and apply for grants or to raise money. A lot of those people left with the board. In order for us to put this back on track, it's really, and to set them up where they're not dependent upon the city, it's going to take this initial $650,000 investment. What is the investment? It's approximately about 6 staff positions, money to continue PR, some marketing and recruitment funds, and a couple other things. Also included, but not included in this presentation, we're looking at possibly going to the CRA and using the CRA to give MoCA a facelift, to paint the exterior of the building, and to provide some lighting and landscaping. That's what's on the table now, but that's what the $650,000 will be used for. So in total, we're talking about $1.8 million to move MoCA forward, and actually to set that footprint in place where they're not dependent upon the city, and to get them back to what we're accustomed to MoCA being. Now we talk about, since we spoke about the succession of the prior board, now the long term, again, creating an organizational and physical framework that attracts investors and actually makes MoCA grant eligible. That's the main thing here, making MoCA grant eligible. This slide is just a brief what MoCA's past budget looked like from the board. With the up and running museum, we were able to bring in about $3 million a year. And this was on the nonprofit side, the board side. And you can see most of the money was from donations, corporations, foundations, individuals. We did have grants almost in the amount of close to $500,000, and then MoCA memberships. So again, these are the revenues that we're anticipating MoCA board being able to bring in once this framework is set in place. So this is what it looks like. You have the MoCA budget. Again, I told you it's typically $1 million. We're right now tonight proposing to amend the budget to $2.2 million from the city side. And actually the $500,000 you've already given MoCA, and then we're going to give them an additional $650. That's where you get the 1.1 under proposed FY15. So the total budget that we will be spending for the fiscal year will be about $3.3 million. Again, tonight we're asking for 1.8 to move forward. Projected budget for next year, I'm projecting that the city will be spending about $2.2 million, and it's reasonable to expect MoCA to bring in about $500,000 next year. And that'll put the budget amount at $2.7 million. Why is the 2.7 less than the 3.3? The $650,000 loan. You take out the $650,000, then that puts us at the 2.7, what they are going to be spending this year. This is a brief trend. Basically what we see this year, expending about $3.3 million, MoCA Inc. revenue at 0. Next year, we'll look at the $2.2 million that we will make a commitment to spend, and the MoCA board bringing in $500,000. Then we'll go to FY17, where we anticipate the board bringing in about $1.5 million, and the city spending $1.3 million. And then in FY18, we anticipate that MoCA should be fully self-sufficient and moving forward at that point. Again, this is, and these are actually conservative numbers compared to what the last board brings in and what we're anticipating this board is going to bring in. But these are actually, like I say, worst case scenario from your standpoint, because we won't want to come back to you asking for additional funds later on. And that's the presentation for the MoCA board as it relates to the city and the financial part of it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. At the present time, I am not sure whether or not the director of MoCA has a few words, but we just have to be a little bit concise tonight.
When
To the
we came
point.
last year, we remember that we're going to have 1 year on August 6th at the helm of MoCA. We have presented a 3-phase project, which is, first phase was to ensure the survival of the museum. When we came to MoCA, before we got there were 33 staff. We are running the museum for the past 9 months with 7 people. So the survival phase were fundamental into making sure that with the $500,000 the city gave us, we were able to deliver both Art Basel and functioning with the various exhibitions we had organized. The last one were open Saturday. The second phase we talked about with the museum in our strategy was the phase of stabilization, which is exactly what the budget director just presented today. And then the third phase was the growth, where we will no longer need the city in terms of the major part of our funding. And to do that, we needed to have a board. Being on a board of a museum is not really something that is easy, both in terms of times, but in terms of financial commitment. And I'd like to just thank those that have decided to put their money and their time to come to become member of the board of MOCA, and our chair, Mrs. Marianne Portel, who is here today. So basically the presentation is fitting the strategy we had developed when we came to the museum. Survival, stability, and growth. At the point whereby the third year in our strategy, we will no longer need the city. Remember that when we came to MOCA, sanctions by the state and the county bar us from applying for grant until 2017. We were not eligible to apply for grant until 2017, not due to our fault, but due to the past management and the lack of reporting. We are today pleased to say that the county has worked with us, and that by next year we will be getting back to our full eligibility to apply for our grant. This is both for the county and for the state. We just have our first presentation exhibition with our board Saturday. So we are slowly but surely moving, developing and implementing our strategy, and we believe that we can meet the targets with this presentation we have done. I am willing to answer any question that someone may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. I don't know if any. I would like to also recognize the presence of the other two board, I believe 3 board members or 2? 3. Well, it can always be 3. The wife can be a member as well. And we have our ambassador from Haiti, Dr. Rudolph Moise, in our midst. Is there any other elected official in the audience? I recognize former Mayor Burns, and who else? No one else?
I think Doran Rule was outside.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move approval of the item before us.
I'll second it.
Can we
Is
have
this
some
discussion?
discussion or public hearing?
No. That's what you want?
I want to discuss it, but I think you should open it to public hearing.
If that's what you want.
I would love that, thank you.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone who wishes to be heard, please do it now. And I must also specify tonight, if you can please try your best to abide by the 2-minute regulation that we have. Be concise, to the point, so we can move this agenda in a swiftly manner. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Mary Estime, 1125 Northeast 125th Street. I'm very proud that MOCA is in our city. I'm very proud of that. But I'm concerned as a board member of PAL that these funding, it appears that that's what is happening. I know that we are planning, we have $1 million in it, that we are planning for our building. Now, I know that we don't have a set date of building. I just want to assure that when we're ready, that those fundings are there for us as they were allocated for PAL. So that's my concern, and I just want that to be stated on the record.
Duke, can you give a brief reassurance to Ms. Irvin? No?
Right now, and I know there's funds allocated for the PAL building. I believe the money's coming from the Rux Park, old project for the Rux Park, an amount of about $5 million.
We have several funding sources for the Cagney project, which is $5 million allocated from the GOB, which is the General Obligation Bond, through Miami-Dade County. We also have the $3.5 million reported by Councilman Bienemy that we got back through the agreement or the joint agreement with the Miami-Dade County School Board for 3.5, which totals $8.5 million. $8.5 million is going to be used for the development and improvement of the Cagney Park project. I believe $8.5 million is sufficient where PAL would be accommodated in that facility being built at the Cagney location. Again, it's a policy decision, but we are making a recommendation here that that project will move ahead with all the amenities as promised for a total of $8.5 million. And as the budget manager showed, we have a total of a little over $2.5 million, not touching the $5 million allocated in reserves. So we still have a buffer. Whether we use an additional 500 from the PAL allocation for that project or whether we use it for MOCA is just to make sure that the budget is amended and MOCA moves forward. But the money is allocated there right now as an option.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is... Okay, can you hear me better or no? My name is Silvia Maiolo. I live across the street, 800 Northeast 124th Street. And I'm an artist. And I'm proud to have MOCA here. But it's a situation, the actual situation in North Miami is that it's a lot of poverty. Even a school, they take the art teachers at the school because they don't allow to pay the teacher to teach children. We have to start to educate children about art, about music. The school needs money for that. If you don't educate people how they could appreciate art, and the city, I don't understand a lot of things that happen in the city because the beauty for certain people they express in one way, another, they have different aspect of the beauty. And in North Miami, they start to cement all the sidewalk instead to plant trees. And in 124, between 8 and 9, I live on the street, they trying to make better that street, and they put the drainage, but they are so deep that they are about 10 inches deep. I don't know if somebody went to inspect that. And there are potholes in the middle of the street. You can break your car. Then
Thank you very much. We'll go to the next speaker.
but it's better
And
to think about
try to please stay on the subject that we are discussing.
Esther Blinn, 1990, Northeast 118th Road, North Miami, Florida. I was troubled, to say the least, to see this on the agenda and the amount of the cost, having lived through many, many years where no such sustainable, that's what it said, meaning you need this money to keep the doors open. It's not for some special projects or events. I recall initially when the transition occurred to a new curator and a new board of trustees, there was an allocation of $500,000, which was typical as the Art Basel celebration occurred. And there was a great deal of discussion about paying it back quickly. So that hasn't obviously been paid back. I asked that that repayment be deferred a year, and the council approved that suggestion. I think it would behoove us all to pass this over where we can hear more about the activities of the Board of Trustees, who is on the Board of Trustees, what contributions are being made by the Board of Trustees. This is a huge allocation of funds. And whether or not perhaps the museum can partner up with the university, FIU for one, and go back to the drawing boards and have more information. There's absolutely not one iota of information about what's going to be used. So I think it should be
I did it
rolled
for
over.
one, so I have to do it for everybody. I cannot let you continue. Ms. Bland, we'll go to the next speaker.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Max Sturman, 12302 Northeast 6th Avenue. As the chair of the Business Development Board in North Miami, I couldn't emphasize how strongly we feel about supporting MoCA and appreciating everything that the museum and everybody involved with it has done for the city for the last however many years they've been here, and seeing the city support them and watching the growth, very exciting to us, and I think it's critical to the continued development in downtown and the rest of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Carol Prager. I live in Arch Creek East, longtime resident of North Miami. I'm going to go back to the discussion when I want to bring up the bond issue that was floated a number of years ago to finance the museum. I did it everything in my power as a private citizen to encourage my neighbors and my friends in North Miami to support that bond. Everyone recognized MoCA to be just the absolute best thing that was going on in North Miami, and how critically important it was to whatever progress we might enjoy in the coming years. MoCA is vital to the redevelopment of downtown North Miami. And the redevelopment of downtown North Miami is vital to the future of the citizens of North Miami. So this is an awful lot of money, and there's not a lot of guarantees, but it's what we've got. It's the bird in hand. And so I'm going to ask you to really think hard about this, find the money for this project, support this project, and in defiance of everything that has happened in the past in this city, where there have been obstructionists and people with no vision, I'm asking you to be bold and to do big and great things for this city and support this museum. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rosalyn Philippe, 12205 Northeast Miami Court, and I too would like you to really think about supporting the museum. I don't want any groups to think that it's MoCA against them or we're fighting for this, but any city or any area needs something to identify it. And let me tell you, MoCA does that. I've gone to New York. I walked into Brooklyn Museum, Museum of National History. Trust me, they've got information about MoCA. During my trip a few years back, when I was in Italy, they know about MoCA. Cleveland I went to last year, they know about MoCA. So if you remember a few years ago, we were known as Metro-Dade County, and one of the reason it was changed was because they had to find a way to identify. Because when you said Metro-Dade, it meant nothing. But now when you say Miami-Dade, people know what you're talking about. And MoCA is the thing for North Miami. So I really would like for you to consider supporting the museum. It's unfortunate that the board, the previous board has gone, but that's what happens. Anytime when you have boards or you have employees who have been there, who earn the experience, who have the contact, it's gonna take time to build it back up. So, you know, we just have to bite the bullet and move with it.
Alita Rosenfeld, Keystone Point. I think I'm going to follow in the footsteps of all of these previous enthusiastic people who want to support the crown jewel of North Miami, the crown jewel of our cultural advancement. Now that we have this magnificent director of the museum at the helm, I think let's stay the course and move ourselves forward with this. Let's not hesitate. Let's get this one thing done. It not only improves the main street of North Miami, it improves the entire city and elevates us all culturally in the eyes, I think, of people across the country. One funny little thing is that you happen to have a sign on the building over here, the City Council building, that says, drive carefully, watch out for distractions, yet you'll be seeing a lot of cars slowing down. I did on the main street, 125th, as we all look out the window at the marvelous exhibit in front of MoCA, just to show you that a lot of people are paying attention and looking up at this crown jewel. So to finish, let's support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Meanwhile, Mr. Manager, can you see if maintenance can come and see what's going on with the AC?
Yes, they're checking indeed right now. I just.
Thank you. We are dying. Good evening.
We have a lot of sophisticated people here, so we want them to be comfortable.
Thank you. Appreciate that. My name is Judy Brown. I live at 1100 Northwest 128 Terrace. I, too, am very proud of our museum. I think it's every city needs a great museum. But I am also concerned that the other parts of the city needs to be looked at as well. I know that certainly my district has been not given the share of the pie that it should have been given. So I'm asking, and I'm very much concerned about that $1 million from PAL, because I know we were slated to have when we did our Joe Celestine Center, that we would have had our state-of-the-art field track, and it was cut. So I'm telling PAL to beware, you know, always watch, because they say that the money will be there, but somehow it may slip away from you. But I too think that we need our art museum, but I'm asking that you have the same consideration for other programs and other projects that are going on in the city. And I will stand here till I can't stand anymore, because if you can spend this type of money, then certainly you can get us our state-of-the-art track field that we've been promised for 40 years over at the Pepper Center. And I still want that track field, not a path, but a track field.
Mr. Mayor and Council, good evening. My name is Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125th Street in Sunkist Grove. I am a supporter of the museum, MoCA, but I also am a supporter of other activities we have going here in the city of North Miami and facilities. We have a lot of needs. I would request that you table this and do more investigation as to whether other creative ways of financing can be found in order to satisfy that need as well as others. My concern I have is the tot lot at the pool, Sasso Pool, is not even working. The filtration system is very poor. I am a supporter of MoCA, but I also support our children. I would like to see you reconsider this and find other ways that MoCA can be funded as well as other community facilities. Thank you.
My name is Mike McDearmaid, 840 Northeast 127th Street. To start off with, I've been a longtime supporter of MoCA. I started with MoCA when it was over here in this old building that's now our building department. I was here during the change. I was here with Joan Lehman and Mrs. Kolodny when we put up the new museum. I've been involved with the museum from the very beginning. Up until the change happened, I was actually part of the Audience Development Committee. I'm not on the board currently, but I can tell you that yes, MoCA is important. Yes, it's a linchpin for the city, but I think in reality that the only way that this museum is really going to survive a long time is like every other museum, whether it be ours, or the Norton, or the museum in Fort Lauderdale, or any of them. You need to expand the museum. You know, we had a bond issue several years ago, missed by the skin of our teeth. But as I told somebody one time, we had nearly 50% of the people in this community who voted yes, tax me, because they knew how important MoCA was. So yes, it needs to be funded. But again, on the other hand, I'm also the president of the PAL board. So I have to be concerned about the $1 million that was set aside for the children of this community. I'm disappointed that we had such short time frames and short notice about this whole situation, and there wasn't time enough to really look at alternatives to doing this, but accepting that it is, perhaps maybe is for the council to commit to replacing this.
You know, I did it for everybody, Mike.
Okay, fine. Just if you would make some sort of indication of making sure that they replace this money, because it's part of the budget that's going to the school board and the county, and Lord knows what's going to happen when they just find out that we took it back. Thank you
very much.
Good evening, everyone. William Previtel, 11950 North Bayshore Drive. I'd like to take a stab at putting a little bit of this in perspective. We had an institution that was moving along quite well. It was well respected. And unfortunately, as it was being driven along, due to negligence and to some degree of our council and our community, all of us, we sort of took our eyes off the wheel. We were texting, and our institution didn't run out of gas. It essentially crashed. We crashed it. And with any crash, there is a cost involved that's much greater than if you had just sort of run out of gas. And we have to do this extra cost and bite the bullet. We wouldn't be having this conversation if we had paid attention to begin with, and we'd probably be putting up about $1 million, $1.2 million, whatever it might be, and the rest would have been funded. It was really a tough lesson to learn and a hard bullet to bite. On the positive side, I'd like to report that I attended last Saturday's reception of MoCA, and I thought it was one of the best events that we've had in the last few years. I thought the artwork, which came from our permanent collection, was varied and interesting. We had a great attendance. The catering was great. There was live entertainment. There was additional, more abstract entertainment. And overall, it was a really great evening. It was very promising. Even the people that attended, you could see, were more of an art enthusiast crowd than normal. And I hope that in speaking with some of the new board members, it's been very promising. I think there is a good future for MoCA. I think we have to get through this hurdle, get it back onto a track that is manageable, and hopefully everything will fall into place. And I look forward to your support of MoCA. Not at the expense of our other community programs and the children, but somehow making it happen so that there is no detriment to the other good people of our community. Thank you.